Hello and welcome to Game and Social. My name is Matthew and I'm joined with Gareth. Hello.
Hello there, Matthew.
And this is our very first discussion video, all focused around the new Xbox, the newly revealed Xbox from Microsoft.
Which has been done today.
It has indeed. It was done about 3 hours ago. So we've recorded this straight away whilst it's all fresh on our minds before we forget what the hell's happened. And we'll be releasing this the day after. So...
Yep, so it looks all important and all inspiring, as they would say. There was a big build-up to, obviously, Microsoft's new Xbox coming out, and would it compete with the PlayStation's reveal? Obviously, with PlayStation, they only revealed the actual control pad and not the console, so it'll be interesting to see how PlayStation and Sony respond to this.
Yeah, well, I think that was a big mistake from Sony, going on about their reveal. They made a little video as well, and then they only did showed the controller, which is exactly the same, but a little touchpad, so I thought that was a massive mistake from Sony, and a big slap in the face to all the Sony fans.
So, what have we got in this video today, you may ask? So, what we're going to be looking at is the elements of the Xbox.
Yep.
So, what does it bring? And one of the most burning questions I think a lot of people have been saying over the internet and internet forums is, does it have online DRM?
Yes, I know you're a big fan of that element, aren't you, Gareth?
Oh yes, I love DRM like a brick.
Yeah, speaking of bricks, well, we'll get onto that a little bit later. So, new console, I'm going to be showing plenty of photos and little game images as well, big games that have been sort of demoed on the event on the screen for you, and at the end of the video I'll be showing a little teaser trailer that Microsoft has seemed to have made themselves as well. So, shall we begin going down the list of what has been announced? So, 12th of May was 2005 was when the Xbox 360 came into the world, so it was a long time ago. It's quite shocking to think it's a long time ago.
Quite a long time ago, bearing in mind the turnaround time before the original Xbox going into the Xbox 360 wasn't as long generally as most consoles.
No, it's true. I know they were always going on about that the 360 was made to last a long time, and I think they've actually lived up to that. It has done that. It took a long time for Microsoft to get it right. I think the current one, the matte black Xbox 360, is pretty much perfect. Compared to the very first 360, there was a lot wrong with it.
Definitely, under the 360, one of the most common arguments against it was that sometimes its reliability wasn't the best.
Yeah, I had 7 of the original white Xboxes. I actually had one of them for about 5 minutes before it broke. So it came back from repair, a brand new one. And it broke from 5 minutes.
Definitely. Luckily, I only had a couple of breaks on there and they were replaced relatively quickly by my insurance scheme, but it doesn't change the fact that unless you drop a console on the floor on purpose, you should not be having to replace it within the first year.
No, well, that's it. So the Xbox has lasted a long time. I know when it originally came out, the graphics were phenomenal, and obviously now the Xbox does lack a little bit in its processing power, especially if you compare it to what PCs can do, because PCs have a lot more power, and PCs will still have more power than the new Xbox because it is that much bigger. You can fit more inside. I was starting to notice the limitations of the Xbox in the past couple of years. So it's about time we actually have something new. So the main thing Microsoft seem to be pushing is this all-in-one entertainment crap.
So the PlayStation went along with this with the PlayStation 3, introducing a Blu-ray player into this. Blu-ray,
that's better.
And a home entertainment system. Now, I was very sceptical about that because my idea is very traditional, that a games console should be a games console.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with adding, say, a DVD player, or dare I say, even a Blu-ray player onto it. Yeah. But when you try to turn it into a home entertainment system, you're going away from the core element of what a games console is.
No, I agree. I think it's, like you said, it's all very well making the Xbox work as a Blu-ray player if you want to. The thing of the PlayStation was it could play Blu-rays, but in my opinion, it was never a good Blu-ray player. If you want to have the best high-definition quality, you buy a Blu-ray player specific for that cause. Yeah, with an Xbox, it seems to be your Virgin Media box or your Sky box, your Blu-ray player, and your games console all in one. It's even your bloody mobile phone because it has Skype on it. So I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, for me, I don't go on my Xbox to make Skype calls. If I want to make Skype calls, I use my phone or I use my Mac. I don't go on my Xbox.
Precisely. It's trying to be too much of something. It's trying to be spread across different layers and all that when it should stick to its core element, which is playing games.
Exactly. I think it's got too much in there that I really don't care about, and I hope they don't have an increased price because of all this extra crap that they seem to have.
That nobody asked for.
No, exactly.
So going through the list, obviously, so if we move on now to the element of the reveal, obviously trailer and what was said at the said review, what would you say is in there, Matt, that's kind of jumped out?
For me, the first thing that jumped out was its design. For me, it's a giant brick.
Yes, definitely. It kind of looks like, I know a lot of people will say, looking at the video, no, it doesn't, but it kind of looks like the same dimensions as the old PlayStation 2.
Or a VC, or a tape player.
Yeah, an old VCR, as they would call. So straight off the bat, you can see that obviously they're putting a lot of technology into this, and the size and dimensions of the new Xbox shows.
Yeah, it does look quite big, and even the Kinect is another. It's like an old mobile phone, one of those brick mobile phones. So the design initially for me doesn't look great. I mean, the color and the finish on it looks amazing. I like the color and the finish. It's just the design seems a little strange.
And also bearing in mind that the Kinect has some major issues on the 360, not being able to follow your movements, not responding, or the Xbox not responding quickly enough to the Kinect. It will be interesting to see if the new, bigger Kinect will actually solve these problems or cause more problems in them themselves.
Yeah, there's a little bit here as well. So some new controls, which I believe is actually in regards to the Kinect itself. It seems the Xbox can be more reliant on Kinect. I don't know what that's going to mean for people who can't fit a Kinect like me, because I have my Xbox either in this recording studio here or in my own room. I haven't got the space to actually stand up and do all the crap that the Kinect requires me to do.
Precisely, and also you've got another problem into this. If you're going to make the majority of your games Kinect-based, then you're going to be alienating a good third to half of the populace who want to play this just purely on a simple analog control pad.
I agree. I think Microsoft have got to be very careful what they do, and I think game developers have to be very careful. I can see people making lots of mistakes, and they'll be shooting themselves in the foot.
One perfect example would be a game called Steel Battalion for the Xbox 360, which was used to be based, for example, on a massive control pad with over 20 buttons. When they put it to Kinect, you could barely get out of the tutorial stage because the Kinect could not recognize your actions, and it would misinterpret some of your actions. So if you're going to have similar games, whether they be Xbox Live arcade games or AAA budget games, you're going to run into this problem. And if you run into this problem, you're going to have a lot of angry consumers.
Yeah, definitely. So if I read a little bit right up here about these new controls, so the console turns on just from saying Xbox on. It will launch into what you were doing last. So that's quite cool, because Apple have that same concept with the iPhone and the Mac. You can keep all your programs open and it just comes back into it. So I like that a little bit.
Yeah, I do as well. For convenience, if it were to do that, if you're a person that always brings up the same applications, then brilliant. If not, then it's going to be like a kind of meh moment.
Yeah, exactly. So it looks like it was shown off during the actual reveal itself. And according to this comment here, it seems incredibly responsive in the demo. But they're not sure if that was actually a demo of the console or a simulation. Now, if it's a simulation, then in my mind that should be illegal. You can't say that something can do this when it can't actually do it.
Precisely.
It's false advertising.
Especially in the UK, when you have the Trade Descriptions Act, where basically you cannot promote something or advise something if the said product is not going to deliver that.
No, exactly. So also integrates right into the TV. Xbox Watch TV drops you right into live television feed. I don't know, I guess that could be useful somewhat, rather than having to change, turn off your Xbox and maybe, turning on your Skybox or something. If it's all there in one go and you got a connect, you just speak those two words and you go right there. I can see that could be somewhat useful.
It can be somewhat useful, but I think it's too many committees thinking about a broader range of people. Keep it simple. If a person wants to see something, they will do it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Another element of this is 2 at once, whatever it's supposed to mean. So it's got Windows 8 or a version of Windows 8. Well, it's Windows, so it's never going to be a positive thing, I don't think, for Microsoft, but hopefully it hasn't made the operating system of the Xbox too advanced that it starts to go wrong and bug out.
Again, it comes back to the old saying, when a computer console tries to do too many things instead of being a console. So if it packs the Xbox with too much equipment, too much modern technology, you're going to have a lot of problems. So whereas you might not even be able to play your game because one element of the said box set might be broken.
Yeah.
So again, you're trying to do too much when going away from the core value of what a gaming console is supposed to be.
Yeah,
games.
I agree. So it says here you can use 2 applications at once, for example. So if you're watching some TV or a movie on your Xbox, and you can also have, say, IMDb, which is the movie database where you can get information about films. You can have that on the side of your Xbox as well. So again, there could be some use there. Me, I just usually use my phone to try and find information while watching a film, because all it's going to do is take up more of your screen.
Precisely. I mean, mean, don't get me wrong. Considering what I said last about it trying to go away from being a console, I would love the fact that you could do that. You could just sit back. You might not want to play the game that much. You just might want to go Skype, for example.
Yeah.
Or it's don't get me wrong. I always embrace modern conveniences with this, but I just think at the end of the day, we will need to see more of the reveal stuff come close to the time so we can make a comment on that.
I agree. And it says you can use Skype whilst you're watching a movie or playing a game as well. Using Skype while watching a movie, I think that's stupid. Why would you want to speak to someone whilst you're trying to watch a movie? It's like sitting in the cinema, doing nothing, but chatting to someone next to you on the phone. You can't enjoy the movie. Playing the game, a little bit different. Yeah, I can agree with that because you use your headset anyway, so it may not be much different. But again, it takes up more of your screen space, which is just no point.
No, I completely agree there. Too much sometimes put in.
So we've gone over watching TV. Yeah, I can see that could be somewhat useful. But in terms of the hardware side, for me, the hardware is probably the most impressive part. It's the bit I'm happiest about. So if I run through the hardware, it's got 8-core processor, which is pretty good. It's standard. I think it's the same as what I got in my gaming rig, if not 12-core. But still, that is really good. An 8-core processor is very good. It has 8GB system memory. Again, that is very good. I think that's incredibly different from the Xbox 360.
It is indeed.
Out of the box, it comes with a 500GB hard drive. So that is very good. That's double what the Xbox 360 has.
Yeah.
It comes with a Blu-ray drive, which is great. I was expecting Microsoft to do that. So with the 360, at the time, it was Blu-ray versus HD DVD. HD DVD was Microsoft's investment, and obviously the Blu-ray was Sony's investment. Since that release, Blu-ray won the war, and Blu-ray became the norm.
So Microsoft now has to do this just purely to keep up with PlayStation.
Yeah, I think it's no surprise really that they would do that because that is the standard now, and so Microsoft have adapted to that. And I could probably see Microsoft doing a better job at incorporating the Blu-ray drive into the Xbox than Sony with their PlayStation 4. In terms of the wireless, it comes with the standard wireless system, 802.11n for those who are interested and know what it means. It is quite speedy. It comes with HDMI in and output. I'm not quite sure what the input is for.
No, I'm kind of trying to boggle my mind as to what they're referring to then. But again, once we get closer to the time, more like E3 kind of like shows, then we'll probably find out a little bit more.
That's it. And it comes with USB 3.0 ports as well, so the new standard for USB 3.
So hardware-wise, it looks very impressive. But like I say, the old saying goes, the proof is in the pudding.
That's it, yeah. And they could blag about all these numbers and their figures as much as they want. We need to see this in action. We need to make sure it doesn't overheat, it doesn't crash, it doesn't give us a free ring of death, if that's even possible, unless they may remove that altogether. But you've got to make sure that it actually works and is good.
It'd be the brick of death.
Yeah, pretty well. The whole thing just turn red. So new Kinect as well. We said the new Kinect is pretty much like a brick. So it's got much bigger, so hopefully it can do a lot more. Apparently the new Kinect has a 1080p sensor, so the highest current quality we have, or the current standard. It has 30 frames per second in colour, time of flight or TOF technology, and a microphone array.
So straight away, like we said before, the Kinect has kind of been the butt of jokes a lot in the forums. Much maligned. Very few games have actually worked properly. So you've got like Kinect games like the kind of like the basic XPL live games, and you've got like things like the equivalent of what like a Wii Fit was and stuff like that. Games on the Xbox, which worked quite well because they were basically low-res games where your actions weren't really needed as much as they were in a AAA game.
No,
Again, Steel Battalion, the biggest insult ever that a game was sold where you could barely get through the tutorial in regards to that. So again, it's easy for us to sit here and say the Kinect is going to fail, crash and burn, but let's give it a chance to see if it does its job. But I'm not holding my breath. Yeah,
I mean, for me, I haven't got the Kinect, and I've never really used it much other than pissing about on a drunken night. So for me, it's not something I'm really excited about. Because it's a new Xbox, I may pre-order with the Kinect and see what sort of usage I might get out of it. But again, I haven't really got the space. But we'll soon see. I might want to see some more demos and see what it can really do.
So, moving on to the next one, which I think a lot of people would be interested in, is a lot of people on YouTube who have channels on here, people like Angry Joe, people like Jim Inquisition on the Escapist magazine, have been bringing up issues with online DRM. Yeah. Now, for people who don't know what online DRM is, basically, if you think of if you were a PlayStation 3 owner, you'd have firmware updates.
Yes.
And this is to stop online piracy, as they claim, but unfortunately would cause your game to crash. crash, it would cause the network to crash, and in some occasions, even if you had an your internet connection froze, even on a single player game that doesn't have an element of multiplayer, you would then be kicked out of the game. So you could potentially pay $60 in the US, £40 in the UK for a top of the line game, play single player, no multiplayer element, but because your connection wasn't stable, i.e. online, you would then be kicked out of that game, which, as you may know, is not a very popular thing.
No, I agree. I think EA has made a massive mistake recently with their SimCity game. Those of you who follow our content on YouTube that would have seen I've done a Let's Play of SimCity. I mean, in terms of the game itself, it's fantastic, but I had a lot of problems in the beginning. And if games started to do that more often, it's going to cause problems. The UK isn't ready for online DRM, although we have probably one of the faster broadband speeds in the world, specifically from Virgin Media. Not everyone has a fast connection.
Precisely, you're going to be looking at areas of the UK which has fibre optic. So if you've got fibre optic connection, chances are 99.9% of the time your connection is going to be stable, valid, and you can play. If you have broadband, don't get me wrong, most of the time, depending on packages you pay with different providers like Sky and other people like BT, if you pay top of the money for a big megabyte connection, then you're going to be fine. For people that are on the lower end, to the point where they live in remote areas where the connection's not best.
Other places of Europe as well, they have low connection. I know even places in America still have very outdated connections and cables. They can't get fibre optic.
They still have dial-up in America.
Exactly.
So a lot of people who have played Halo Online, for example, who always moan about lagging games, if you think it's bad when you've got a dial-up against the broadband, you watch what happens when online DRM's introduced.
You know when you lose connection in a game, it happens every now and then. It's happened to you every now and then in games that we've been playing together online. If you think that you get that sort of frustration from an online game, which can be understandable, but apply that to a single player game, I think that's where it's going to start getting on people's tits a little bit.
So Microsoft have officially stated that it will not always be on online DRM. However, there's a kicker to it.
There is a kicker to it. There's a little clause there, you know. Do you want to say it or shall I?
I think you should say it because you'll say it with a lot more sarcasm than me.
Okay. So, Microsoft has said the Xbox is not always online. It's too early for that in this country, but it's probably going to be something in the future. However, developers will be able to use Microsoft's Azure computing, which is perform rendering tasks remotely, which would require even single-player games to be online if those are used. Those aren't mandatory, but Microsoft hopes developers use them. So, Microsoft have given us two sort of options, and mainly pushed the bucket onto developers, whether they want to have online games. They said they want to make them use it, but again, it's too early for it. We haven't got the internet connection for it. Maybe in about 10, 20 years' time we do. But I fear that developers will make the mistake to make those games online, especially EA. They probably don't learn from their mistakes.
So obviously, when we say developers, you're talking about the other developers under the umbrella of EA. Obviously, EA being publishers.
Yeah, exactly, yes.
But you can see it straight away, the likes of Square Enix, EA, Activision, Ubisoft pushing that, because at the end of the day, these are big corporations, and Microsoft has put this, as I would say, this trap door in. So we're not going to promise you online DRM now. However, it will be at the decision of the individual publishers, and their game franchise, which they, under their license, which they release, will then give the caveat to do that. And unfortunately, even though I could tell you now you're going to alienate the majority of your users if you can't do it on a single player game and you get kicked out, unfortunately, the dollar is what drives these decisions, unfortunately.
I agree. So there's been probably a lot of talk ever since the announcement 3 hours ago about the name of the Xbox One. What's your opinion on the name?
The Xbox One, when someone said that to me, I thought, are you referring to the original Xbox that was created? Or, are you referring to, I don't know, something similar to that. When they said it was called the Xbox One, I laughed, because you would have thought they would have come up with a decent name. Marketing would have come up for a decent name. I mean, there was a name, was it the the Xbox Fusion?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people for a long, long time have been saying the Xbox 720. They've been saying that for about 3 or 4 years, and that's just stupid. Microsoft, as stupid as they are, they're not going to call it the Xbox 720. That's a crap name.
It is a crap name. If anything, they should have just called it Xbox Brick Edition.
Brick Edition, yeah. Well, there was rumours it was going to be called the Xbox Infinity or the Xbox Fusion. Those two names I kind of like. I would prefer it to be either the Xbox Infinity or the Xbox Fusion. I mean, Fusion PlayStation kind of makes more sense because they're fusing, TV, games, calling all into one. So it kind of made a bit more sense.
This is kind of if you've played the game as well, this is kind of like an in-house joke. It's probably had Crackdown's naming committee be part of this, because as you know, the original for Crackdown and the sequel basically were called The Cell, or Pacific City as it was called each then, so they don't really have much imagination for names, so they probably got that committee to write the name for the Xbox.
Yeah, I mean, if push came to shove, I would expect the new Xbox, just to be called Xbox. That's it. No 360, no 2, no 3, no 1, just Xbox.
Okay, well, at the end of the day, I think we're getting a bit too harped up on the name at the moment. They've chose to call it that. We can laugh at it all we want, but that's what they've chosen.
That's what it's going to be. So if we move on, there's a little bit about the games that have been sort of announced. I know EA got a massive partnership with Microsoft. I know they were demoing the new FIFA game. From early reports, the quality of the game looks really good. Hopefully that is actual gameplay footage, but again, by the looks of it, we'll see more in E3.
Hopefully it's footage, not concept footage, which they did with Aliens Colonial Marines.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. And I know one thing that has been announced is a Halo series. So I know they obviously did the Forward Unto Dawn before Halo 4 came out, and it was very, very successful. And today, 343 Studios announced a new live-action Halo TV show, which is going to be created by Steven Spielberg. So that is a major announcement, maybe probably on par with the actual Xbox reveal itself.
That would be good. I mean, don't get me wrong, I liked the cutscenes and I liked some of the concept they did in the new Halo 4, especially with the cutscenes outside if you went round and collected secret bits of information, as you would know.
Yes.
I would like that. One fear I had for the Halo series is that they were going to make it into a movie, which I don't think would have suited everyone's needs.
No, I still think there's a lot of talk about that. I know it's been going to and forwards from cancelled to ongoing. The thing with the Halo movie, I think a lot of people are nervous to create it because it has to be very, very good. If someone signs up to do it, to be the producer or the director, and it fails, people don't like it, it's not better than the game or not what they expected, I could see that ruining someone's career.
Sure.
I don't think anyone really wants to take that risk.
And the question will be now going forward for things like this, on top of which I have no doubt you're going to have to pay a subscription just to play online. This is the talk that it talked at the previous concept of, will there be paid subscriptions? So, for example, will this TV kind of series that they're going to put on there be an additional paid subscription on top of what you're already going to pay? And I think a lot of people are going to be angry at that. I think if you set them a set amount a year and it's slightly more expensive than what it is, and then you include all of this, people might be a bit annoyed, but they would say, fair enough, I'm getting a lot of content, a bit like a gaming with the DLC concept. However, if there's another paid subscription on top of that, I think a lot of people will probably bite the bullet and not do it.
No, I agree. And talking about paying content as well, I know I read something about second-hand games. If you buy second-hand games, then by the sounds of it, you have to pay a fee to play it on your own console. Because when you buy a game for the very first time, you register it against your Xbox Live account, and then that is yours and only yours to play. You can't even lend games to other people, which is a bit suckish.
So, I mean, if you look at the Xbox 360's concept now, if you buy a second-hand or used game and they've used say, for example, the online pass unlock code, then you have to basically download a passcode from Xbox Live, which could cost you an additional £5 to £10, depending on which country you live in. Of course, the United States is different. So this was to stop against online piracy, as they say, or for people, or basically the basic argument, if they'd never paid the original price for the original game, then why should they have the ability to play it online free? Which I kind of understand in a way, but at the same time, it's like walking up to someone with an hour's free left on your parking ticket. If you give it to someone, it doesn't make a difference. You paid for the time, that one space on the online server. It's been simply repackaged and sold on to another person. There is no different than what, for example, BT or Sky do when they repackage their satellite services and give it to you.
No, I agree. I mean, kind of the wrap up a little bit on here. The Xbox will be available later this year, so it will be in time for holiday season. I think they're waiting to see when PlayStation will be announcing, or Sony will be announcing their release date. It says here the Xbox 360 was announced in May of 2005 and went on sale 6 months later. So I expect we'll see a similar sort of release schedule. But that is the majority of the console, really. I mean, I got sort of mixed thoughts. It's not what I expected,
No.
but hopefully it's more promising than what I'm currently feeling towards it. I think a lot more will be shown and demoed at E3.
and what we want people to realise here, and this goes out to our subscribers and people that like our videos and like the content we do, we're very upbeat about games and consoles, and we don't want to think naturally that it's going to be a sucker punch that they're going to promise the world and they don't deliver. It's just at the same time, we as gamers ourselves, veteran gamers, and also making the content that we do, are not going to lie to the subscribers and people out there. We want to put our own opinions. There are our own opinions at the end of the day. So you might disagree, you might not agree with what we're saying. Hey, that's fine. But at the same time, we have what's the best word to use? We have a
I have no idea.
No, I don't have any idea what I'm saying. We basically have an obligation to you to report on it as it is, and if we don't, then we become some of these hack corporations that basically spoon feed you the good stuff, but won't be willing to tell you what's behind that kind of trapdoor that people don't want you to know.
Exactly. We're giving it to you straight. We're not paid at all, and we're never going to be. We're never going to take money from people and say an opinion that is not our own. So it's just truthful, and this is how we feel. This is our initial response to reading through all the crap that came out earlier today. So there's a few sort of comments that we've been seeing floating around by other people, so maybe some of you that should be watching this before we can go through them. One of them said, actually known as Mighty Jack, who posted on the BBC website, saying Xbox One, even the name is disappointing. So, you know, it kind of sums up what we said about the name as well. It doesn't seem to be very good. Let's see what other sort of comments we do have here. So apparently someone found a way around the second-hand fee as well. Have a non-live profile for used games. Xbox Live One for new ones. So whether that will work, who knows? Precisely, and a couple of other comments that we can see on here is, why would you need a TV on the Xbox when you can watch TV anyway? Yeah, that's true.
So again, it comes down to trying to do too much, going away from the core value, which is you are a gaming console. Nothing wrong with having the ability to play DVD or Blu-ray, but the moment you start live streaming TV, Skyping and other things like that, again, you're going away from the core element with what makes a console game. That's it. Another interesting point here as well from a person named as To The Point. Don't think it matters what it looks like, I'm more concerned with what it does. I kind of agree with that, but he was under the impression, or she was under the impression, that Microsoft were releasing a new games console today and not an all-in-one home entertainment system. Again, it kind of goes back on what we're saying. People seem to be on the same sort of track as what we are. They seem to be agreeing with what we're saying. And I want to know as well, surely they did surveys, Microsoft, to see what people want from their next generation consoles, because if they haven't and gone out and looked at a control group of, say, you know, even if they went around the world and did a survey and say covered 500,000 people, which again is small but still a big demographic, and they said they wanted this, then fair enough, they can back up the data. But if they haven't done this, then again it seems to me suits in the big high offices making decisions as opposed to what the consumers want. Yeah, no, I'd agree. I think that's a big mistake from many companies out there. But I think we've rambled on for quite a long time. That's come up about 30 minutes. So thank you for actually joining us, and hopefully you're still here at the end of the video. I think the best thing to do is for us to end off with the short little trailery, teasery thing that Microsoft made, so you can see what the Xbox kind of looks like in video form, I suppose. But thanks for watching, guys. Not a problem, man. From myself, goodbye. Ciao.